And Mike Schmidt said this, and it always stuck with me, and it kind of changed my perception about performance-enhancing drugs in Major League Baseball. Mike Schmidt said, if you're coming to me and you're going to say, if you take this, you'll be able to play better, play longer, and recover faster. He goes, you're goddamn right I'd take it.
This is going to hurt. It's time for the Suffering Podcast.
To be honest with you, the player said, if you get a hit off of him, don't look at him. I ended up getting a double. I hit a double off him. Well, I'm at second base. I have my head down. I'm not looking at you.
But you're playing against a legend.
Yeah.
Like Nolan Ryan is. At that time, he was probably in his 40s.
Yeah, definitely.
He's a legend. You ever
grunting.
He grunts. Well, who was that he punched in the head? They got into the guy charged a mound.
Robin Ventura.
Robin Ventura.
Yeah. He beat the hell out of Robin Ventura.
I show my youngest that.
He had him in a headlock, I believe.
I say, this is why you never test an older guy. This is why.
There's a reason we're old.
But you ever
made it here?
You ever get that starstruck when you go up against somebody like a Nolan Ryan, somebody who you've been watching on up? Do you ever get that in the major leagues?
Absolutely. Yeah, you definitely do it. I mean, there are names you play against it that you've seen on TV, and you're like, oh my God, I'm playing against this guy. We play Oakland, and I get a base hit. Who's on first? Mark McGwire. I'm like, oh my goodness. Play against New York. In
big Mark McGwire or small Mark McGwire?
That was big Mark McGwire back in those
He
days.
was always big.
Yeah.
He was always big. But, you get hits in the Yankees in 92, 93, 94, 95. It's Don Mattingly. Yeah. Right?
Weirdest baseball swing ever.
But he was a fantastic hitter.
Well, now you played in...
What is it like when you're standing on first base? What's the conversation like with the first baseman? You see these guys. You see guys
as
talking all the time.
As a rookie, you don't
say
speak.
anything. Yeah. No. Shut up, Rook.
Exactly.
You played in an era where there was a lot of scandal in baseball, and it sort of muddied the baseball waters. I don't know if you ever, and please don't mention any names. I don't want to know who they are, but what did that feel like? I mean, did you hold it against those people that did that got involved in the performance-enhancing drugs? What was that like?
Well, that's always a tough subject to talk about in a sense, because these gentlemen are still trying to get into the Hall of Fame, and
which I find personally, I think it's a sin. I think it's a sin.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely not condoned. It was not. It's obviously something that you should not do, or you should have not done it in a sense.
But steroids weren't banned in baseball in 2002, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know
They
exactly
weren't a banned
the year.
substance. I think it was 2002.
I think it was 92. Yeah. They became a Class 3 narcotic.
I don't know for sure, to be honest with you. But, most guys always are trying to stay on the field. So you don't condone anything that they're not supposed to be doing, but most guys want to be on the field. So they're going to take, a pain pill here, whatever they can get on, whatever they can take to get them on the field, which is not right in a sense. But
you're talking a job that's worth millions of dollars, and if you're not on the field, someone else is going to take your job. So you're going to take what you have to take to keep your job going.
Well, that's the mentality of the guy who has been hurt in a sense and is trying to come back.
I call it Wally Pipp syndrome. Wally Pipp got hurt, right?
Poor Wally. I always felt bad for Wally Pipp. Wally Pipp gets hurt, and the rest is history with Lou Gehrig.
Yeah. There are a lot of players. There are a lot of players before they even, you know the players' names, right? Before they even played, or before they even assumingly taken, whatever they took, we're Hall of Famers anyway. We're Hall of Famers anyway. So you got to look at it in were they Hall of Famers or were they not Hall of Famers?
But my problem with the Hall of Fame is I think Hall of Fame is voted on by baseball writers. To me, baseball writers are frustrated athletes. I mean, look at a guy like Eddie Murray. Eddie Murray didn't get in the Hall of Fame, or Albert Bell.
Eddie Murray was at one time the highest paid player in Major League Baseball.
Albert Bell still isn't in the Hall of Fame because he wouldn't give interviews to baseball writers. My theory on it is the Hall of Fame is an exclusive club. If you want the steroid era players to get in there, why don't you let the Hall of Famers vote on who gets in the Hall of Fame?
Well, it's interesting. You know, they have a players committee, right? You know, after you do not, you can't get into the Hall of Fame for 10 years. You go into a special selection by players who make that decision, I guess. The fact that, you know, the media has the say whether you go in or not is the integrity factor, you know?
That's the Pete Rose syndrome type of thing.
That's the integrity factor.
But you're going to tell me, guys, like, I mean, back in the day, I've heard stories that baseball players back in the 60s and 70s used to take amphetamines all the time. So you're going to let them in the Hall of Fame? And
it's a very, very, it's a very, very
subject.
Gray line.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very touchy subject.
You
Because
can do it, just don't get caught.
there are many guys who have done, you know, they've taken, you know, they take, you know, 10 Red Bulls to get on the field or whatever the case may be. You know, they're always trying to get an edge in a sense, and you're always trying to stay and play as long as you can.
Well, something was said once by somebody who I admired growing up.
Me?
And yeah, growing up, but when you were like 25 and I was 6. You know, it was Mike. It was a roundtable discussion with Mike Schmidt, Greg Nettles, and Brooks Robinson. And Mike Schmidt said this, and it always stuck with me, and it kind of changed my perception about performance-enhancing drugs in Major League Baseball. Mike Schmidt said, if you're coming to me and you're going to say, if you take this, you'll be able to play better, play longer, and recover faster. He goes, you're goddamn right I'd take it. You know, that's what he said. And I thought about it for a second. I said, if somebody were to come to me in my current job and tell me I can make all these three, I can make you do better, do it longer, and recover faster. You think I'm not going to do it to get an edge? Of course you are.
Well, it really depends. It really depends on your confidence level, per se. Let's say you are doing very, very well, not doing anything, right? And you're healthy and you're not doing anything. And you're competing with everybody. And you're hitting 300 and you're an all-star and you're this and you're that, right? You're like, I don't need anything, right? But there are some guys, not that they lose confidence, but they get hurt.
Yeah.
And when you get hurt, you want to play.
Like, I'm not saying it's right, but I think it's demonized too much.
It's you shouldn't be doing it, but you want to play. Doesn't mean you condone it. It's not the right thing to do. You know, you're hurting your body. You're taking an illegal substance to play when everybody else is not doing it. You know, you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
You know,
Kevin, like you said,
there are drugs to say, right, that can get you better, right, without having to do this. You know,
steroids became illegal in '92. You said, right?
I believe that's what it was.
Right. Baseball didn't test for steroids until 2002. Steroids in the Dominican Republic were legal back then. So who's to say in an off season a guy goes to the Dominican Republic, does all the steroids he wants, comes back and plays baseball? He did nothing wrong.
No,
Did nothing
I
wrong.
disagree. There's, you know,
I mean, morally he did it wrong.
Well,
morally against the game he did it wrong.
Yeah, there's
But-
an
but
integrity.
legally,
there's
yeah.
an integrity factor.
Yeah,
there. You know,
it's-
you shouldn't be doing it. Okay,
exactly.
There's down. If it's a black and white, you shouldn't be doing it. But you know, the human element comes into it. You know, the human element comes in, and then you're like, okay.
People are always going to look for an edge.
They're always going to try to come back and do something to where they can come back to be that same guy, which is not something that you should be doing. You know,
You said, it goes against the integrity of baseball. I'm not saying that steroids are right, but technically, I think baseball turned a blind eye to steroids for a while.
I'm sure in a
they did.
sense, you know,
Mark McGwire,
they definitely
Sosa.
they
Mark
definitely
McGwire,
didn't
Sammy
want to
Sosa.
have anything to do with it,
Yeah.
you know, because you can't say that, you know, you want this to happen because it's not the right thing.
You had this really storied career, and just to pull some stuff, you have an unassisted triple play. I think it's the only unassisted triple play.
No.
No,
I think now it's like there's 13 or 14.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
He's the only player in baseball history to have an unassisted triple play,
Cycle.
hit for the cycle, and have 3 home runs in one game.
Okay, that's what it was. That's what I read. That's
The
what I
only
read.
person in baseball to do not all in one game, obviously.
No, that's no
throughout
not,
your career,
Not all in one game, but that's just being lucky.
being in the right place. A triple play is being in the right place at the right time, and having baseball knowledge.
Out of all that stuff, what is your most proud major league moment?
I I would say the proudest moment is to actually not only get to the major leagues, but to stay. Because that's a big
That's
thing.
what our friend Adam Burt said. That's exactly what he said. Adam played for the Philadelphia Flyers. He said getting there was one thing. Staying there was another.
Now, when you got called up, you never got sent back down, or did you?
Did not get sent back down.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. So it comes time in every person's life. Everything has an expiration date where it's time to end it. Hang up the jersey.
Right.
How was that? How was that decision?
It's hard. It's hard. You know, especially I had some injuries. I tore my patella tendon in 2000. I had torn meniscus tears in my knees, as well as I tore my labrum and rotator cuff in my left shoulder. So I've had some injuries that I had to deal with to come back from. That took some time off in a sense. And age plays a very big factor. You know, once you hit the age of 32, 33.
A ripe old age.
You definitely are not the same player as you
But
once
the one thing I
was.
want to, what'd you play? You played for the Red Sox for what, 10 or 11 years?
Yes, a little over 10, just a hair.
And then you played for the Mets.
Yes.
How did you get separated from the Red Sox? Did you?
They had an option. They had an option year to pay me X amount of dollars, which was a good salary, or buy my salary, my contract out and pay a portion of it. And because I was older and not the same, I wasn't running the same way that I ran when I was in my 20s.
Especially as a shortstop.
And a shortstop. But at that moment, you know, I wasn't a shortstop anymore because Nomar came.
That's right. You went to third, right?
Garcia Parra?
Yeah.
Garcia Parra came, which was, at the time, you know, I felt like I didn't want to move out of shortstop, and I just hit 27 homers and 100 RBI. That year in 95, he comes in 96. He's the #1 pick, who now is putting pressure on taking over the position. He is doing fantastic in AAA. They are now trying to figure out, what do we do with John? What do we do with Nomar? Well, what happened in 95, they brought him up in 95, the year that I was having a great year. They played him at third. They played him at second. And he didn't play that well defensively. He was a natural shortstop. So they said, John, can you play second? And I said, I can, but I don't want to. You know, I wanted to get traded, to be honest with you. When they first told me that, I said, I don't want to play here. I want to get traded. But then, you know, speaking to my agent, my family, I play well at Fenway Park. I pull the ball, I hit homers, I hit doubles off the wall, I hit for high average, I walk. Why do I want to leave? I said, let me smarten up and play second base. So then Wade Boggs, my first year, became a free agent. And he went over to the Yankees to play, right? He won a World Series with the Yankees. Okay. So we put another person at third base. His name was Tim Nearing. Okay. Good shortstop. Very good shortstop. He now works for the Yankees as the assistant general manager for Cashman. And since I was playing shortstop, they put him at third because he was a bigger kid. He was like close to almost 6'1", 6'2". He had power, and he had hurt his back, so it slowed him down a little bit. He was a prototype third baseman. He fields a ground ball down to third base, one-handed, hurts his elbow, has to have Tommy John surgery. So our backup infielder was Jeff Fry. Do you know Jeff Fry?
I remember the name, but F-Y-R-E?
F-Y, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So he is a natural second baseman. So guess what? They put him at third, and he's throwing sidearm to first and taking Mo Vaughn off of first base. So Mo is getting crazy, you know?
Not a guy you want pissed at you?
Yeah. So he's a natural second baseman. So they say, John, can you play third?
Now you see the writing on the wall.
Now I say, I don't want to play third, but you took me out of shortstop to play second. What's the big deal? I'll play third because I could throw the ball overhand to first base, and I didn't need to throw it sidearm. Jeff went to second. He played second. I played third. They offered me 5 more years on my contract. And that's how I stayed with the Red Sox that long, and which was a fantastic thing. You know, you always want to, players today want to really stay with one club. That's why they want those 10-year deals. They don't want to do 2 years and then have to move.
The Bobby Bonilla clause?
You know,
He's getting paid to like 2031 or something like that.
July 1st is Bobby Bonilla Day.
I know,
It's
exactly.
$1 million.
Well,
Brilliant.
players want to stay in one place.
Yeah.
So I was able to now stay in one place with my family and basically be happy.
Which doesn't happen much anymore. I mean,
right.
that's crazy.
So that's how I stay there. They offer me, but I then get hurt. Towards the end of my career, they had an option year for 2001. So, no, 2002, I end up, getting bought out of my contract, and I have an opportunity to play for any team. I get 2 contracts, one from the Mets, one from the Yankees.
You chose the Mets.
And I chose the Mets.
Wow, playing the biggest
I
arena.
could not be a Wade Boggs or a Roger Clemens or a Johnny Damon. I could not do that.
John, I liked you all. I liked you all the way up until this point, but now we got an issue. Now we got an issue.
Forget about those pinstripes.
Now we got an issue. Come on, how many
Pinstripes.
guys did it? You got Jacoby Ellsbury did it, Johnny Damon, Roger Clemens.
So
They're the evil empire.
Exactly.
I agree. And I tell my kids, I tell my young ones when they were younger, I say, the Yankees, they break into people's houses and steal Christmas presents. It's what we do.
But going those 2 teams, the Mets had to be a homecoming for you anyway.
It was a great choice for me because I grew up kind of in my early, you talk about 8, 9, 10 years old. I used to go to Met games. My family was
The
a
old
Met.
Shea.
Yeah, Shea Stadium. My family was a Met family.
The old Shea Stadium was nice. I liked
it too. Yeah.
It was more of a hometown ballpark. But you after all this storied career, it's time to hang up the jersey. Were you sort of left out in the woods? I mean, did you know what your direction was, where you were going to
No.
do? Yeah.
No, did not know. I was a free agent. Bobby Valentin gets fired, and now they bring in Art Howell, and Art doesn't know me. I did play well for the Mets that year, but Piazza,
Art Howe used to coach the
Oakland.
Astros?
Oakland,
was it?
Yes. So Robbie Alomar was playing second base, didn't have a good year. Alfonso at third, didn't have a good year. Mo Vaughn at first, didn't have a good year. Piazza had a good year, but not many players played well. So Bobby took the fall, in a sense, like the manager usually does. They wanted to go in a different direction. And, he was fired, and then they moved on to Art Howell.
I bet you were hoping for Butch Hobson to be the coach of the Mets.
There's no question. Where was Butch, But, yeah. And then I became a free agent and tried to go to different spring trainings and try to make the team. But now I'm 35, and I'm not running the same. I had somewhat of I looked like I was running hurt in a sense, and they didn't want that. They wanted young players to play. So I knew it was over at that point.
You're 35 years old, which is crazy. You're 35. Well, no, it's not that crazy. I think I was 39 when I retired. You're 39. Did you?
No, 35.
You're 35. Well, you're 35, but what's next for you?
What's next? I took 4 years off. Coming home to try to catch up to be dad, in a sense, to grow.
You missed a lot of time with him, yeah.
Obviously, and loved it. Loved coming home, but then I had
now you get a chance to go down to Jersey Shore every during the summer. You couldn't do that because of baseball season.
Exactly. So I took advantage of those 4 years, but after those 4 years, I decided that I wanted to coach. And I went into the coaching realm per se. Asked my if it was a good decision to do that. My family, and ended up going there and had a great time. I coached with the Mets 1 season, and then I coached 10 years with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
And you bounced around too. You were in Double-A, you were in Single A, Double-A, Triple-A. You were up in the big leagues for a little while as a hitting coach, I believe, right?
That's right. Three years, and Mattingly was the manager. I was in. It was we had 2 hitting coaches, and Mark McGuire was the head coach. I was the assistant.
You still talk to Mattingly?
Yeah. Yeah.
My
We say
brother
hi.
Making $3.23
My
million in 1985. There was a big newspaper article. And I like Don Mattingly. I really did like
Oh,
him.
he's a great guy. Great hitter. I mean,
my
great
brother's here
baseball
tonight.
guy.
You saw my brother here tonight. You know my brother from Bill Better Boys Baseball in Jersey City. My brother's a big Mattingly fan. If you can get him autograph, I'd appreciate it.
No problem. No problem.
It's good that he shaved the mustache, though. It didn't look good on him. It didn't look good on him.
Come on, that's Donnie baseball.
So
It's Donnie Baseball, yes.
People don't like this, but I don't care. Donnie baseball didn't.
Even
like,
though he was a Yankee, he's pretty cool.
John, you and I got a lot in common. You got a lot in common with the distaste. I always say, like Derek, you got somebody like Derek Jeter, okay? You take away.
you can't hate Derek Jeter.
Okay, I'm going to tell you how I can hate Derek Jeter. You take away Derek Jeter's good looks, his talent, his fame, his money.
You think he's good looking?
And me and him are the same person.
and he's fantastic athleticism.
And he's.
You think he's good looking? I don't know about that.
Me and him are the best.
Kevin's also from Kalamazoo, Michigan, too.
That
Jeter.
money makes you attractive. That money makes you attractive. So but you move on in life and you go in a completely different direction. You're with financial world.
after the coaching career.
You want to talk about a 180?
Not really, because when I left coaching, I came home for 3 years, and I started to teach because it's in my blood. So I started to teach kids, in around home. I live, Homedale, the Homedale area in Monmouth County. I was teaching at a facility, just teaching kids how to hit. I run into a CEO of a financial services company. I'm teaching his kid. He likes the way, I talk to his kid, the way I explain things. He's looking to opening up a sports division. He wanted to take me out to dinner
For financial planning.
Mm-hmm. Yes, he has a California friend in California that hires athletes, and he wanted to do the same because his friend was very successful hiring athletes because they are coachable, they're resilient, they have the characteristics of, being able to fail and come back and win in a sense. So he wanted to hire athletes to make them financial advisors. So he wanted me to come on board and head the division and be able to recruit athletes. So my job was to go to colleges and guys that were getting drafted, they would go to play, and guys that were not getting drafted, try to recruit them to be in finance.
So what's the name of the company that you're talking about here with the
Northeast Financial Network.
Northeast? So I want to put up a lower third because, it seems like they're educating, especially young kids. Young kids are about to, especially the ones that are about to go to the pros, their life is about to change, and they need some solid guidance from people who have been there and gone through it like yourself.
You see it with a lot of these athletes that come out of high school, they get drafted to these multi-million-dollar contracts, and they lose all their money.
Well, that is where we come in a sense that we want to touch the seniors, and we also want to touch anyone we can touch to make them understand that if they go pro as a high school player in any sport, not just Major League, it could be NFL, it could be football, tennis, golf,
Basketball.
Ping pong? Because we actually know a professional ping pong player.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'll give you my card.
Absolutely. His name's Wally Green.
But we want to educate those college guys also, and also try to recruit them to be financial advisors. We want to build a company with athletes, and that is our thing per se, as well as educating them. And he's given me this opportunity. It fell on my lap in a sense.
It didn't fall on your lap. You worked your whole career to be able to give back like that.
Well, it's great to have something to do other than baseball that means something, So it does mean a lot to me to be able to try to develop this program and this part of the division that he has.
So technically, you left sports, but you're still in sports. So
I'm in
It
sports.
still gives you the feeling of being a team member
on the periphery. On the periphery.
Yeah.
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah.
And obviously, the major league players, right? They have their agents. They have their financial advisors. You understand? So they're taken care of. But sometimes, as a pro athlete, okay, the advisor doesn't want to get fired, right? So they let them do what they want to do, so they end up buying these enormous houses and cars and stuff like that, so they can get in trouble very easily, so we educate the youth, from high school to college to minor leaguers. Like, I spoke to the AAA team of the Boston Red Sox last year, Worcester.
I read the article,
Red
as a matter of
Sox.
fact, yes.
And we're just trying to educate as many people as we can to understand that, you want to maintain that lifestyle. If whatever lifestyle you want to live, you want to maintain it. So
the lifestyle you're getting at 18 years old, you still want to have it when you're 50.
You want to have some. Yeah, you want to have it. You want to do the right things with it. And that's what we're trying to do.
So you said something earlier. It says they hired you because professional athletes are coachable.
Exactly.
They're coachable. You're back into the coaching realm, just in a different aspect of the sports world.
Yes.
And being coachable, I think, is if you're coachable, it's your strong suit, because not everybody is.
It's true. It's true, because, everybody thinks differently. And, from a coaching standpoint, all right, you got to be able to be evaluated on your strengths and your weaknesses, and you have to understand that you have them. There are things you do very, very well. There are things that you don't do well. And when a coach who knows what they're doing evaluates you and tells you, listen, I can make you better. Like, I've coached minor leaguers. I've coached big leaguers when I was in the big leagues. They were making millions of dollars, and they don't want to hit the ball to the right side of the field.
Well, there's one caveat to that, and I'm going to tell you this is a true story. There's a caveat to what you said. So I knew a guy, his name was Nat Hickey. I knew his son really well, but I was really young. Nat Hickey is actually in the Basketball Hall of Fame for being the oldest player to ever play in the NBA. But Nat Hickey was also a college baseball coach. And we're talking 30s and 40s. He coached Stan Musial. And he always tried to change Stan Musial's batting stance. So as I knew this guy as a little kid, he would lead with that. And he goes, yeah, I was such a good coach. I tried to change Stan Musial's bat. But he got a Christmas card from Stan Musial every year.
Well, you think about it, though. You have to know who you're talking to.
Yeah.
If you feel that he's a Hall of Famer, right, leave him alone.
Well, this was college. This obviously it's way before then. Well, but so, John, listen, you've had this great career. I really do appreciate you coming in and talking to us. Is there anything you want to give out as a plug?
My company, Northeast Financial Network, we're based out of Cranford, New Jersey. If you're an athlete or anyone who needs any financial services, we can help you.
I think
it's an athlete-run company.
That division.
That division.
Yeah,
yes.
that division. Right. So once again, thank you for coming in, sitting down with us, going through some old stuff. It was really big for me. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
So thanks,
John.
thanks for
like
having
I said,
me.
I reached out to you last week. We have a lot of friends in common. We brought up like Johnny Shep and the Fa, and I mean that just brings me back to my childhood, man. That's great.
Yeah, I mean, I had great teammates. Johnny Shep was one of them. Martise was great. Playing with Biggio and Mo Vaughn was fantastic.
Half of my high school class played college. We talked about Don Antonelli.
How come you didn't play?
I sucked. Johnny Shep. I mean, we know a lot of people, and that's crazy.
Yeah, it was a blessing in disguise, in a sense, to actually walk on to a Division I team.
And like I said, you played Build Better Boys baseball in Jersey City with my brother.
Yeah.
I usually end the show with this question: it's what your suffering taught you? Because we had this discussion on air. You're like, yeah, I'm going to tell you what the difference is. Is because all those hardships that you went through, you never saw them as suffering. Because you can look two different ways at things. You can be the victim or the victor. You chose just never to see them as obstacles, as more as challenges.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, adversity is something you learn from. And I never really took it as a negative. I actually took it as a dare, in a sense. I think I can't do well. Okay, let's
John
try
went
this
through
again.
more adversity than suffering. Walking on to Seton Hall, getting a scholarship, then getting drafted, working your way up through, minor leagues. I think that's adversity, not suffering, because you loved it.
I loved it.
So it's really not a real suffering story.
You still speak about it with such joy. I can see it in your face.
and
knows dates and everything.
Yeah, I mean, not only that. I mean, you have to be a little lucky, right? I mean, Butch Hobson, right?
Yeah.
He was in my corner.
God
you have
bless.
to have somebody in your corner.
God bless Butch Hobson.
God bless Butch Hobson.
John,
Is he your kid's like godfather or anything like that?
No. But we speak of each other very fondly, and he's a fantastic guy.
That is great. Because like I said, growing up a baseball fan, I hated the Red Sox, but Butch Hobson was like,
And I hated the Yankees.
Yeah.
And I still hate the Yankees.
That's why you signed with the Mets.
And that's why he's here, just so you know. John, thanks so much. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Suffering Podcast, The Suffering of a Pro Baseball Player with John Valentin. And let's think about all the stuff that we learned today. Jersey real is a real thing. Be the best right now rather than the best tomorrow. It takes just that one person to believe in you, and God bless Butch Hobson. Be coachable.
Uncle Butchie.
But most importantly, adversity is something that we can learn from. That's going to do it for this episode. Don't forget to follow us on social media. You can always listen before you watch. Follow Mike at Mike_Failace. Follow me at Real Kevin Donaldson. And of course, follow the Suffering Podcast. And we're going to see you on the next episode.